Welcome to Behind the Scenes at RG Studios. I'm RG. Well, I'm sitting here reading a book, enjoying life. Sometimes you gotta, stop what you're doing and just enjoy living. And in the meantime, I'm scripting 2 new stories for my projections for the next 5 months. I'm going to be working on 2 new stories. 2 new internet art films here at RG Studios. The first of my 2 films is Progress and Crisis. It's a social political film. I want to give the audience, or try to give the audience, a perspective. I'm trying to carve and craft a social political perspective of the 1960s. Depending, I guess, on your point of view and what your opinion is of the 1960s, we'll see what that does for you. The other film I'm making is an action-adventure film. It's called Thicket and Thin Shades of Evil. I'm going to explore the embodiment of human beings when they're in this state of war, and their involvement on how they deal with, or why they do the things they do. And these 2 internet art films are going to show at the Warren Theater next year in April as a double feature. These 2 internet art films are going to be totally different from each other, and they both are going to challenge me in a way that my last or my previous internet art films haven't done so far. I am challenged by the Progress and Crisis for the political and social perspective that I'm going to present in this internet art film. The Thicket and Thin Shades of Evil is to dig into the characterizations, and as I create these 2 internet art film scripts, I'm sitting here and I'm enjoying my life, and I'm taking time to become inspired by the things that I read. And one of the things that I've read, or I'm still reading, and I'm getting inspired by, is this book here. It's called Marvel Comics, The Untold Story. I'm inspired by this. I really am. And you're probably thinking, why are you inspired by some comic books? What's inspirational about that? Well, what's inspirational is not so much the comic books, but the people. For me, it is to understand the people who created these larger-than-life characters that become myth today. The Marvel Empire, as we know it today, didn't exist in the 1930s. It was called Timely Comics. And it was a little company that created the first comic book known as the Human Torch. Not the one that's in the Fantastic Four, that group. That's the 1960s version. The one that was before that was called the Human Torch. He was an android. I won't get into the story of the characterizations of the comic itself, but about the person or the people who created these myths. The myth of the Timely Comics was Submariner, Captain America, and the Human Torch. This become what is known today, part of the Marvel Empire today. But these people then, at that time, were trying to just carve out a living. That's what they were trying to do. They were, people, average people, happened to be working in comic books, because comic books at that time wasn't something very popular. It was just reading material. And when you have a world war at hand, people needed a pastime to spend their time from what was truly happening versus imaginary creative stuff. And comic books filled that void. The creation and creativity of these men and these people trying to make a living. And in this book, I've come to find out that the big empire that I know of today, Marvel Comics, with Captain America, the Avengers, and so forth, and Iron Man, and so forth, and all that. These people, the artists who draw these individuals, were trying to get a check, and they wasn't very happy with the outcome of the business, of how they got treated in the business. per se, how we may perceive them in myth. Oh, these people make lots of money. They're getting a cut of this, getting a cut of that because the movie made billions. When you spread that wealth around and you start cutting it up and you divide it by the fact that there's some people who did not get any royalties at all, you begin to see an untold truth here. Like, wow. Wow. And the inspiration of that is, this is real life. This is not the myth that you are led to believe, that you work hard, you're struggling, the carrot in front of the horse, so to speak, that you're chasing. It's the daggum ride to the place that becomes the realness of the adventure itself. And I'm inspired by that. Like, wow. Even though these people had a rough time and just making a living, they had a rough time of it. They're great artists. People are not, these artists are not sitting at the desk of these conventions to sign autographs because they want to. They're trying to make a living. When they sign those autographs, they're being paid by somebody to sit there and sign those autographs because they didn't get their royalties like they should have gotten or could have gotten, or they didn't get their cut, so to speak. I don't know how it turns out for some of them. You're shocked to believe these individuals were not pleased with Marvel Comics as we know it today, and even some of the publishers, and even Stan Lee himself. Some of them weren't too pleased. They left on bad terms. It's like, wow. And I'm inspired to know the truth, so to speak. That's a flat way of putting it. I'm really inspired to know the truth that these individuals were having human issues, that I go through every day myself at work. Where I work at, there's human issues because we're people. We're going to have our ups and downs. And definitely, this book here had reminded me there are ups and downs in everything you do. Oh, sure, there's that big pot of gold at the end of this adventure for some people. And if we split it many ways, some of us is going to come up really short. And in the toss of that, we may not be happy. We may have enjoyed the journey to get it more so than the end result. Yeah. Now, what I got for you today is this. I have a clip of where I was building a chair for a particular film, internet art film. And that was, let me remember, it was called The Garden of Heathens 2, The Dark Rift. Yes, there was a moment there that I captured. I forgot it myself. I was just running through my files one day and there it was. This clip is about me building a chair, a prop, for the internet art film, The Garden of Heathens 2, The Dark Rift. And I go through the process of showing you how to create this particular chair. It's pretty interesting. And I think it's a behind-the-scenes thing that is rare in my studio because I don't capture a lot of this stuff. But when I do, I bring it to you so you can see it for yourself, how I have this creative moment, put together a chair, and voila. Here it is. Okay, what we have here is a partially finished product of the chair. See, you get a good look at it. This is what it's going to look like as far as the skeleton framework. We'll be able to get a lot of work out of this scene. One of those moments where you go, see how it looks? Now, it's not about looking authentic. This is an art film. It's the creative look you're looking for. Someone grabs a chair real quick. The way that art films are created, it's made for creativity. You have the enjoyment of creating something. That's what I do. I'm going to pick up the chair, go like this here, and smash. Of course, I'm going to have to paint this, give it a look. All of it looks pretty much like it should. This is a styrofoam base. The background, the back part is real. This is styrofoam. This is what's going to be smashed up. Plus, now when the scene is shot, there's going to have to be some creative moments to make it even look like it's breaking apart even better, because all of this tape here, it's not going to really break apart unless somebody's standing there. I'm shooting the film by myself, so something has to be solid for this to hit to even come apart. So it's going to be creative. That's the whole process, is to be creative, to enjoy yourself, to have a little bit of fun creating something. Hey, here's the chair, the finished product of the chair. See how it looks? That's a creative chair. Spot right there. Look at that. Put a little paint there. There we go. Put a little bit more brown paint. That's to give it a creative look. Remember this. Remember, this is going to be one of those scenes where you see the chair, and then wham. That's probably the worst part of the chair right there, that side right there. This side over here, yeah. That's the better side. That's probably the side we're going to see the most.
We're also finding out that their fuel of life is compressed within their technology.
General Campbell, sir, are we going forth with a ballistic attack? Well, there we have it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Behind the Scenes at RG Studios. Each time we come here, I'll try to bring you something interesting. Tune in another couple of months and I'll have another one for you. You guys have a nice day.